hope these concepts you are understood. Now next concept we are going to discuss is relation between relative permeability and magnetic susceptibility. For that, let us assume one solenoid. You know what is a solenoid? I discussed in the previous concepts and previous lesson also. The topic came twice in each of the lesson. So take one such solenoid. So this is the solenoid, and this has the turns in this. And if you allow some current to pass through it, it produces a magnetic field. Assume inside the core of the solenoid is filled with some magnetic material. I repeat once. I took one solenoid and the core of the solenoid is filled with certain magnetic material. If you allow certain current to pass through it, there will be two magnetic fields you can expect. The reason is why one magnetic field is due to the source and another magnetic field will produce inside the magnetic material, because that also will get some magnetic moment. Since initially assume this is a material which is placed inside the core, solenoid will be this way. When you allow some current, solenoid will start giving magnetic field. That magnetic field will be deposited inside the material which is placed in the core. Again, because of the external magnetic field, this material will produce some extra field. Means there will be two kinds of field. One is known as B naught, the other is known as Bm. Here, B naught is a magnetic field due to the external source, means due to the current, and Bm is a magnetic field due to the material which is placed inside the core. Then the total magnetic field will be given as B is equal to B naught plus Bm. Now, from the formula, B naught you can write it as mu naught times of H. Since you know H is given as B naught by mu naught. Second, take the symbol plus as it is. Bm, the magnetic field due to the sample that depends upon the intensity of the magnetization. Indirectly, Bm is directly proportional to intensity of the magnetization. Means how much is intensity of magnetization? That I, how can I write as M by V. Higher is the moment, or I can say higher is the magnetic moment, higher is the intensity of magnetization, then higher is the magnetic field due to the sample itself. Then from this, Bm is proportional to I. If you remove the proportionality, then you will get Bm is equal to mu naught I. That I will replace here. Hope you understand now. Now, B is equal to, what is common in this? Mu naught into H plus I. For convenience, I will divide both the sides with the H. So I can take it as B by H as LHS, mu naught, and divided H I will supply for the inside terms. I will get H by H plus I by H. Now what will get? Mu naught, H by H is 1, I by H you know that is known as Xi. Just now we discussed. Now it's magnetic susceptibility. Now this B by H I take it as mu. How to take this is the same way. You know mu naught from this you can write it as B naught by H. Similarly, if it is a medium, it can be taken as V by H. See, mu naught that represents absolute, means that is available in the free space. Mu, nothing but it's available in the some medium. Now from this, using relative permeability concepts, you know mu r that is equal to mu by mu naught. Now from this, what is mu is equal to? Mu r times of mu naught, that will replace here. So you will get mu r mu naught is equal to mu naught into 1 plus Xi of magnetism. Now what will like that will cancel? Mu naught. From this, mu r is equal to 1 plus Xi. See here you can check the equation whether it is correct or not. Xi is a dimensionless quantity. Similarly, mu are also dimensionless quantity. Hence, the equation is correct, which is important for 3 marks scheme. Hope you understood about these concepts. Now, there are certain basics available related to the earth magnetic field. There are technical terms which are not in syllabus. The technical names are known as isogonic lines, agonic lines. Next is known as isochoric lines, actinic lines, isodynamic lines. I have mentioned the material. What is isogonic lines? if you draw earth magnetic field map, see that I'll give a separate diagram which is downloaded from internet, and I'll post in the your WhatsApp group so that you can check out how the isogonic and agonic lines will looks like. As in, this is earth, and if you draw any one imaginary line such that the line must pass through equal declination points, means earth is being very huge in size, you can find so many points over the earth surface where the magnetic declination, known as theta. What is magnetic declination again? It's the angle between geographic meridian and magnetic meridian. That value will be, say, at different points of the earth. If you join such equal declination point lines, repeat, as in this is point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 points will have equal declination, and that points are joined with an imaginary line. That line is known as isogonic line. Then next, what is agonic line? You can find some more points where the angle between the magnetic meridian and geographic meridian is equal to 0, means magnetic declination is 0. Then the points, if you join with an imaginary line, that which points? The points which have 0 declination. Then the line passing through the 0 declination points is known as agonic line. Isogonic, the line which is passing through the equal declination points. Agonic, the line which is passing through the 0 declination points. Similarly, isoclinic, the line which is passing through the equal inclination points. Then aclinic, the line which is passing through the 0 inclination. So, I repeat, equal theta, nothing but declination. Isogonic, 0 theta means 0 declination. Agonic. Next, equal dou. Dou stands for here equal this one inclination. Isoclinic, 0 dou, nothing but 0 inclination. Aclinic. Next, equal BH means where and all you can find equal horizontal magnetic field, and if you join such points, then the line which will passing through the equal horizontal magnetic fields, the line is known as isodynamic. So this is for the additional information. So about today's session, hope you are all having clarity, and please refer the study material. Whatever the doubts, the same old concept, please update me through the WhatsApp. Thank you for the session. Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is session 4 of lesson magnetism and matter. So in the previous sessions I discussed about the basic concepts. In the last session I discussed about what are the components will be helpful in calculation of the earth magnetic field, and known as magnetic elements, and certain important topics and all discussed. Hope you are all clear with the concepts. Now in today's session I will discuss about how to classify the substances into groups based on the magnetism, and how many groups are there and what are their properties. And in order to separate the substances into groups, the things required I have discussed in the previous session, such as H, I, known as magnetic susceptibility Z. Based on the problem, I will discuss the concepts. So let us get into the concepts. Here I have already written certain 11 parameters of the board. Based on these parameters only, substances can be classified. So if you see the broad classification, there are 3 classifications are available. One is dia, second is known as para, next is known as ferro. Diamagnetic substances, paramagnetic substances, and ferromagnetic substances. See, there in the material I have mentioned the differences in the table column. The same thing I have mentioned in the theory part also separately. So both are same. So that combined I am discussing all modes. So the content is same. So if you take out the dia substances, para and ferro separately, I will discuss each and every property separate. What is the effect of a magnet on each of the substances separately. If you take a magnet and you slowly brought near to the diamagnetic substance initially, so diamagnets are feebly repelled. Feebly repelled nothing but they will not attract, instead of they get repelled by very weak amount of force. The feeble refers to very low. So I repeat, if you take a magnet and if you brought near to the diamagnetic substances are feebly repelled by magnets, whereas para, they are feebly attracted by the magnets, whereas ferromagnetic substances, they are strongly attracted by the magnets. That is what the first step. Second, if you place each substance in the presence of an external magnetic field, you know, any magnetic material or any other material, if it is placed in the external magnetic field, then this field will show certain effect on that. Based on that, in diamagnetic materials, it produces very low amount of magnetic field, or you can say intensity of magnetization, I discussed in the last session. In diamagnets, intensity of magnetization will be done, but it's having very low value, but the direction is opposite to the applied field. In the case of para, again magnetic field will be produced inside, that will be along the direction of magnetic field. Compared to dia, para along the direction. In dia, opposite to the applied. In para, along the applied. But both the cases, the produced field inside the specimen is very low. But if you come to the case of ferro, the produced field will be very huge. And the produced field direction also is along the direction of the applied field. Point number 3. If you place each substance in the non-uniform magnetic fields, what is the meaning of non-uniform? One place field will be strong, the other place field will be weak. Then diamagnets, since they are repelled by the magnetic substances, diamagnets will move slowly from a region of strong magnetic field to the region of weak magnetic field. So it moves from strong region to the weak region. Whereas para substances, they move from a region of weak magnetic field to the strong, opposite to the direct. But both the cases they will move slowly. Whereas ferro, it moves from a region of weak magnetic field to the strong magnetic field quickly. That is the nature of ferro. Then, if you place in the presence of uniform magnetic field, assume this is the direction of uniform magnetic field, diamagnets will align perpendicular to the field direction slowly. Then paramagnets will align along the direction of field slowly. Ferro, they will align along the direction of field quickly. See, ferro quick, para slow, both are along, whereas dia is perpendicular to the magnetic field. Now coming to next property, Zeit, which is known as magnetic susceptibility. This I discussed in the previous session. What is susceptibility? It is the acceptancy of a specimen towards the magnetization. So this Zeit is less than 1 for dia, greater than 1 for para, far greater than 1 for ferro. Now, what is this mu r? Known as relative permeability. There is a relative permeability for dia ranges between 0 to 1 for dia, between 0 to 1 plus e. I say it's epsilon, right? It's some integer you can say. Nothing but if you observe these two ranges, a slight increase value is given here. And for this, it's far greater than 1. Ferro. The mu, known as permeability of the material. Permeability of the material is less than the permeability of the free space. Means compared to free space, its allowing of magnetic field length is very less. Here, slightly greater than mu naught. Here, far greater than mu naught. So you can compare the things. So this is for dia, this is for para, and this is for ferro. So this is about permeability. Coming to temperature, there is no effect of temperature on diamagnets. Here, effect of temperature will be taken into account if there are any changes of magnetic intensity or magnetism produced in the sample. since the diamagnets will not at all allow the magnetic effects or magnetism, their effect of temperature will not be taken into account. Hence, temperature effect on diamagnets is not at all taken into account. Whereas, temperature of the paramagnetic materials, if you write the relation, then the relation looks like this. T is inversely proportional to Xi, or Xi is inversely proportional to T. Means, on increase in the temperature, magnetic susceptibility of the paramagnetic materials decreases. Here also, the same relation for ferromagnets. But here ferromagnets, in the case of paramagnets, susceptibility only will decrease. See here, on decreasing the susceptibility at a particular temperature, ferro will turn into para. That particular temperature is known as Curie's temperature. So, temperature effect once again repeat. In case of dia, there is no effect because there is no change in the magnetization or magnetic field will take place, hence it will not be taken into account. Whereas in the case of para, temperature increases, magnetic susceptibility decreases. In case of ferro also, temperature increases, magnetic susceptibility decreases. But at particular temperature, ferromagnetic materials convert into para. The temperature is known as Curie's temperature that I will discuss in the next sessions. Next one. In what kind of states the substances will be available? Dia and para both will be available in solids, liquids and gases, but ferro available only in solids. Then, removal of field, that is one more parameter I want to discuss. Whether you apply the field or remove the field, the magnetization intensity will not change. In the sense, there is no question of magnetic field produced inside. In case of para, if you give external field, the field will be produced, another field will produce inside the sample. If you remove our external field, the field produced inside the sample also becomes zero immediately. As well, this is dia. If you give the field, if you remove the field, there is no change. There will not be any question of change in the field because there is no field inside. The field inside is zero. In the case of para, if you apply a certain field on this, assume this is a para, it will get some magnetic field inside. If you remove the external field, all of a sudden, then the field inside the sample also becomes zero. Whereas in the case of ferro, if you remove the external field, even though the field produced inside will sustain for long. So there is a existence of, or I can say persistence of the field even though external field is removed in the case of ferro. Coming to the examples. About the examples of the dia, para and ferro. In the case of dia, you can take copper, bismuth, lead and all as examples. In the case of para, you can take aluminum, manganese, etc. as examples. And ferromagnets, you can get iron, nickel, cobalt, gadolinium, and there is a material called alnico. These are the best examples of the ferromagnets. Hope you understood about the differences between the dia, para and ferro. These differences are very important for the exam point of view. Now, in this, I have left out two features of the differences that are discussed after the completion of the concept called hysteresis, because without that concept you are unable to understand these differences. Hope you understood. I will catch you up in the next session. Thank you.